trying to pull up my paper. I went ahead and put it on the discussion board.
Okay. I'm pulling everything up too. While we're waiting on everyone to get everything, Susan, on my peer review, you were talking about something that you do at Old Town that I could possibly use with condensing, or like a weekly newsletter or something that you would explain.
Yeah, so at our school, when we send in our weekly packets, like we send home a Wednesday folder with like information, you know, for the students. So if we're having events at school or community events or any kind of flyers that need to go home, just to streamline, we send them with the oldest sibling at the school. Like our Power School will sort that for you. So I'm sure your data manager or whoever could figure out how to do that or whatever. But we only send it with the oldest sibling. That just kind of so parents aren't overwhelmed getting the same. Mm-hmm. And it's probably worse in an elementary school when you have K-5 or pre-K-5. I mean, you think if there's 4 siblings at one school, you're getting the same thing. And, you know, it's just overwhelming. So unless something's just grade level specific, we send it with the oldest sibling.
I really like that idea.
Because in the part of your paper where you were talking with the parent, you had some parent feedback. That was one of the things, you know, it's just overwhelming with so many teachers sending stuff home. I mean, that might streamline some of the information they get, just so it wouldn't be so overwhelming.
Okay.
But I'm sure your data manager could figure that out.
I've never heard of that, but I love it.
Yeah. I mean, our parents really seem to like it. We started doing that just a couple of years ago. And it just, I don't know, it saves teachers time too. If you know, if you've got 10 different flyers that need to go home in a week, you know, every single teacher, first of all, it's a waste of paper and resources. And it's just a waste of everybody's time.
How do y'all coordinate that then?
The data manager lets you know if you have the oldest sibling, and then so you know if you need paperwork for that student. See what I'm saying? Like when we send home, as an example, like if we're having school pictures, like of course we send every child the packet with the order form, but you know, like you'll send flyers home like a month in advance and then maybe 2 weeks in advance. Those reminders only go to the oldest sibling.
Okay.
So, and the data manager just kind of coordinates and figures out who the oldest sibling in the school is.
Okay, so that's school-specific information.
Mm-hmm. But also, like, just community events. Like, if they have Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts, or if, like, the local high school's having, like, a camp or something, we all that stuff only goes to oldest sibling.
All right, I'm going to write that down.
So, and then what we do is, like, if it's a flyer, we reuse the flyer. We just use it as recycled paper and run copies on the other side. Because we're a very poor school. So, anyway. Just a thought. I thought about that when I was reading that section of your paper, that might be something that your committee could talk about. It's just a way to help parents not be so bombarded with paperwork and forms. So, just a thought.
That would be really good at the beginning of the school year.
Oh, yeah.
So many teachers send so many different things home. If we could condense.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So. All
right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really didn't, since we're talking about your paper, Brooke, I really didn't, I thought it was very thorough.
Oh, I did too. That was just the only thing I thought of, just as a suggestion for something your committee could talk about, you know, as a way to help out with that parent concern.
Mm-hmm. I think you elaborated on each thing. I mean, I think because of the conversations were documented, I think that strengthened your paper. I feel like this is kind of like the CAP. Have y'all looked at that?
I started it today.
Yes.
This seems similar.
Right.
Because I had the most trouble with the organizational analysis, trying to figure out the difference, how that went with the needs assessment, and trying to figure out a needs assessment to use, and
Right.
for the CAP as well, because I read all of the tasks ahead of time. So,
There was a big difference in mine. Like, I always try, maybe I'm just taking the easy way out. I always try to pick like one or two things to focus on. And I felt like when I read Brooks, like I felt like your team was going to have like a plethora of events to tackle.
yeah.
Like, it just seemed daunting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard for me because I don't have a principal right now.
Yeah.
Or I didn't. We do as of last week, but I mean, I kept having to talk to my clinical coach, and, you know, I emailed Dr. Neal because I'm like, you know, I can think all these things, but when I run this proposal by our new lady, she may hate this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when I then go to do, you know, task 3 and task 4, that's going to be hard if she's like, I don't like this. So that's just a chance I'm taking.
Yeah. Does your principal understand what you're doing? Your new principal?
Just through email. We're meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
So,
Well, that's good.
yeah. I mean, I've given her an overview just in some email communication or whatever, because, I mean, I didn't want to overwhelm her. Last week was her first full week. So I just sent an email saying, I need to sit down with you. This is why. This is what I'm working on. You know, I had to ask her to be my site supervisor too. So, I mean, it was just a lot. So, we'll see.
I'm assuming she was receptive, like she's willing to take you on.
Yeah, but I mean, she's a brand new principal. Like, she's been an assistant principal, but this is her first. So I think she was excited at the thought of having help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the thought of having somebody willing to come in this summer and help her figure some stuff out. And there's only one other person that works at my school that's been there as long as I have. So I think she felt like if anybody would know things about the school and things that have worked and haven't, I would know. Because this will be my 20th year there. So,
well, she has somebody to bounce ideas off of.
right.
Actually knows at the school level,
Right.
School wide.
Yeah.
No.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that she'll like my proposal. I mean, I haven't shared it with her at all yet. I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yours was really good, especially how you're using your community and you're going through that outreach program.
Right.
I thought that was a fantastic idea. Yeah.
With that idea.
Well, I was trying to think of things that, first of all, our school needed. I mean, when we looked at, the data that we had, but stuff too that wouldn't cost any money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was a tricky thing when, my team and I were thinking and bouncing ideas off each other. Like, what could we do that would require no money? So, especially with not having a principal at the time, we didn't want to come up with this idea and then be like, oh, yeah, we have this plan. We need $2,000.
Yeah.
Or whatever. We just didn't feel like that would be.
And that's one reason why I went to my principal first. I had a meeting with her. She's on the team as well. Just for that reason, so she could tell us, hey, that's a great idea, but I don't know that that's feasible.
When I read yours, I was going to ask too, because I know we can't spend any of our Title I money and things on food. Like, that was a big thing this past year with our committees when we were feeding parents. I put in my paper, the 4 committees are in charge, one per quarter of arranging a partnership to feed the families. So I wondered then how you guys could use your school funds to rent that booth at the fair.
We can. Because $3,000 is set aside for that kind of to try to boost school community. I just thought that was interesting that in your county you can, my county we can't. I mean, I'm sure it's just one of those things that's fresh and out. As far as food goes, I'm not sure if just my principal uses her own money for that. She's big on feeding everyone. She feels like if you feed
we
them,
are
they
too.
come.
Yeah, we're the same way. We always feed them.
I mean, she's made the comment to us during meetings, if you can't say anything else about me, you can say that I feed you. As she passes bags of popcorn and chocolate, you know.
Yeah.
So we're going to get fed, but it's the same thing, I think. I need to ask her about that, if she does do food in particular, like for PTA meetings. I know she'll serve pizza and different things like that. If that,
I mean, I would just be interested. I was curious when I was reading your paper about that. So if you find out, I'd like to know.
She told me most definitely, you know, because she kind of acted like she never spends that. So if I have some ideas, if I can develop a team that has some ideas of how we could do this, she's all for it.
Okay. I mean, I was just curious. Do you do that at your school, Brooke, when you have parent events? No.
Buy their food. They have to pay for their food when they come to ours.
Oh.
We'll do like a food truck rodeo.
Oh, fun.
I would go.
Your school has way more money than my school. Your community, you know what I mean? Like, we're a very poor community.
I found it interesting that out of all of the kids at your school, Brooke, like, what was it, 900 and some people, students, 5 parents will show.
Oh, we have 1,000. We're over 1,000 this year, and no one comes up. Sorry, I can't talk. No one goes to PTA meetings. But we have an amazing PTA board that works their tail off. But parents,
5 people,
like, they run the opposite direction when they hear the word PTA.
So you would think you would have those overachieving parents, especially at your location.
Right. That's what I was thinking too.
I asked someone like a year or 2 ago, like, why they wouldn't take a board seat. And she's like, we do so much in the elementary school on the PTA. By the time we get to middle school, like, we're done. We don't want to serve.
I would kind of be opposite. It would seem like when Clyde gets in kindergarten, I'll be all about it, and then I'll probably burn out. And then it would be like, okay, he's in middle school where he might need an extra look, you know, just socially.
I think
they just don't want to embarrass their kids at that point. I don't know.
See, that's what I found, because I do a lot of events with my kids and trips. They don't want to ask their parents to be involved because they don't want their parents along on the field trip. They don't want their parents at the event because they want to be, you know, semi-teenagers doing stupid stuff, or, you know, acting immature and not having their parent there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a weird age group.
And I like that question that you asked about why, in my paper, like, why we were not asking or targeting the group, that the people that are not coming, just assume they're not coming, why they're not coming. I've had a lot of parents in the past mention transportation's an issue of the lower income kids, the ones that, I mean.
That's my husband. He's being obnoxious.
I want one.
I mean, hello.
Sorry. Kristen.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
He's obviously bored. I don't know.
All right. So they state transportation is the issue.
The kids that we need to see. So, and I don't know that they necessarily care. It's those kids that you never see their parents.
Yeah.
And I think transportation is an issue. I'm thinking of one child in particular that was mentioned from kindergarten on with each parent. Well, did you ever see such and such's parents last year? No, they never came out. They said they couldn't make it. Or, you know, and it's the same thing, and it just trickles on up. So that is a good point that we may need to look at as to why some of the groups are not coming. But one thing, we figured if we did the fair booth idea, we've noticed that a lot of low-income people, if you notice, they're impulse spenders. So they'll go to the Columbus County Fair or your county fair or whatever. So we figure if we are there and can provide some resources to them in a different setting, then they might would, you know, if the child sees their teacher as they're walking through the booths, that's my school. And then they would come up and we could have a friendly conversation with them and give them some literature.
That's a great idea.
So, and it's
one thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm done.
One thing my principal started doing when she got to Carroll was neighborhood crawls. Have y'all ever done that? Where you go into the communities where a lot of your kids live in like apartment complexes together?
That's what we're doing. That's my proposal, is to
Uh-huh.
do that little neighborhood blitz.
So you actually go to them.
Right.
The teachers, we were told we had to ride a bus to see where our students live. Choose a bus and ride,
Our county does that a lot.
and ride the bus just so we can see where the kids are getting off the bus at.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no.
We just felt like we have low attendance at parent events.
Mm-hmm.
And so when our team was meeting and we were trying to figure out maybe why, like what can we do different to entice people to come?
Mm-hmm.
Like 47% of my school is Hispanic, we thought maybe it could be a language issue.
Mm-hmm.
So to rule that out moving forward, we thought, let's go to them and meet on their terms and talk just friendly, not a conference situation, just a meet and greet, very informal, and just personally invite them, personally welcome them, let them know about programs that the school offers. I mean, we want to do this those work days before school starts.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan was just to pick one student from everybody's class. Because we have a bilingual teacher on every single grade level, and then we have so many other staff members that are bilingual. So we thought if we could pair up with some of them and go to some of these apartment complexes. We have several big apartment complexes and several trailer parks right around the school. So if we can try to just go to those areas, and usually if one kid sees you in the neighborhood, they all start coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can just meet some parents and just say, these are some of the events we're going to offer, and maybe they'll tell us why they don't come. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that we've ever asked them.
Yeah.
And we would have people sign up for like PTO or whatever and say, we're going to be there. We're available. I don't know. And we need to look into if our school is actually reaching out to those parents, because we have one PTO person. I mean, that's the only parent we have on there.
Mm.
So, and she's working herself to death.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if it's that our school isn't contacting those people, or if they are contacting them, if they just don't feel like they want to come anymore.
Right.
I just put it on paper just to say, I'm a good parent, and now all of a sudden I'm just not going to do it. So we have a pretty good turnout. Again, it's not the parents that you want to see.
Right.
I can send home a conference form, and it's all the parents that I've spoken to before.
Mm-hmm.
I see them often. Their child is, excelling, but it's not the ones that you need to see. So it's almost to contact a social worker to get up with people. So.
And I think that carries over to middle school, because I see the same parents at all the open houses, all of the events, and it's like, your child's great. I love them. They're doing wonderful. See you next time. I don't get to see the ones I really, really want to see either.
Mm-hmm.
And mainly, I see Hispanics at our PTA.
Mm-hmm.
They come out. I see the same parent. I had this child, and then my mom had this child. Every time I turn around, her mother is out there with all of their children. They're Hispanics. And that child's really high academically. But they're out there all the time. We have Hispanics, but it seems like the African Americans, we just can't seem to get them out there. And we don't have many whites or as much. So
yeah, we have less than 5%.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it's definitely a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of African American, that reminded me of the other question I asked you, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
The statement, and I don't know your words exactly, where the low performing students, their parents aren't coming. Is that your statement? They're the ones that are not involved in the school?
Yeah, it seems like when we look at our data as a school, it's the African American males that need the most push. And then other than that, it would be the Native American Indians. Those are the which are Native American males. They need the most instructional support. They're the ones that my principal goes around and wants to see in our interventions, because according to our data, when it's broken down like that, those are the ones that need the most help.
Mm-hmm.
So how do your Hispanics perform? You said they're the ones you're seeing at events.
Usually pretty well, because they're pulled for ESL and migrant. And our teacher was very good. We had a very good ESL. She's leaving this year, so we're sad about that. But so we're trying to target those families
Mm-hmm.
to maybe come in and become more involved, just because the more community you have, the better their scores are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, we talk about the same things in our meetings of how to have more diversity at our events, how to target specifically African American males, because there are discipline problems, there are lowest subgroup. And I think I said it in my peer review to you, is even, you talk about my school being a different demographic than your school and wealthier than both of your schools. We have the same problems, and we talk about how do we meet the parents where they are? How can we entice them? How can we restructure events? Do we need to have a meeting at a local, I don't know, church versus having a meeting at school if that's going to get parents there?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting that we all have the exact same problems, even though we have 3 different situations.
Right. No, I completely agree.
And that's why I chose the fair booth, because just the teachers, just observing when they go to the fair, who they see.
Mm-hmm.
You see most of your kids, especially if it's half price night. We give out tickets for that. It seems like we can, if I can just see one of the parents, it was worth the whole thing for me.
Well, I think our committee talked about too that maybe a benefit of doing this blitz and these home visits is that oftentimes the first contact teachers make with parents is not a positive contact.
Right.
You haven't built that relationship with them and that trust and that communication. And then, so the first time you do talk to them, it's for something negative. It's a behavior. It's a not turning in assignments. It's something negative. So we just thought maybe we could bridge that gap with some of our parents if the first time we spoke to them, it was just to say hello, just to introduce ourselves, just to welcome them.
Almost like open house.
Right.
You have a new background.
Right.
A neutral environment. And that's what I mentioned in my paper, that I thought the fair booth idea would be a neutral
I agree.
where everyone's having fun, the morale's a little higher. It may be one of those times, even for the teachers, when we're talking about the actual teacher climate, the school climate. Of course, you're like, well, I really don't want to go to that. But once you're there, you end up having a good time. If it's somewhere other than just in your classroom, because you've been there all day.
Right.
So I thought that would be a good idea. So
I like it.
Brooke, I mentioned for your task 2, just about the multiple forms of digital media. I noticed, I think in all 3 of our papers, the charts for task 2 shortened our paper because we had so much content in just the charts. So I noticed in yours, in one of the charts, it was like you had a presentation assigned to somebody to create for your PTO. Was that right? Okay. Maybe that same presentation or something tweaked for your school improvement team or something like that.
Okay.
Just so you can hit that accomplished.
Yeah, I'll add that in.
Did you see my note, Brooke, about your either tables or charts as opposed to figures when you title them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I combined both practices and put them, so I fixed them already.
Okay. We didn't talk about that, and I just thought I'd make sure you saw it.
Now, when you do an appendix, I noticed on yours, Brooke, as well. I don't know, because I tend to trust your judgment on APA better than mine. Do you put the appendix in parentheses or comma appendix?
I totally do it both ways.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't put it on your peer review, but just because I didn't know, and I didn't want to tell you something as if I know and I don't.
Are y'all consistent with parentheses?
I am, just because I thought I got that off of your paper a long time.
I always do parentheses. It could be wrong. That's just I've always done it that way.
I kind of learned APA from everyone else's papers.
Right. I feel like I don't look anymore. I feel like that's one of those things I looked up in January when we started writing papers.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said I was doing it wrong, so that's just how I've always done it. So anyway, I mean, what we've done so far, I think is great. Everybody's work. I think the biggest challenge for all of us is we're doing this in the summer.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I have to text people in my group and on my team and say, hey, I sent y'all an email if you have time to look at it and respond, because they don't even check their email. It's summer, you know?
That's right.
People are on vacation and our schedules don't match up, and it's just been awful.
Yeah.
So anyway, but hopefully it'll get easier to finish, because we'll be back in school.
Yeah.
So
I'm thinking that's why the papers were structured that way.
right.
So we could go ahead and move on with the cap as well.
Right. I agree. All right, girls. Any more comments? I'm good.
I'll stop recording. Do I pause or stop? It's been a while.
I think it's stopped.
Stop.
Okay.